everyone, this is Claudia here from the Bookkeeping Experts. We are back for more education on QuickBooks Online. Today we're going to talk about specifically for accountants and bookkeepers, but if you are a business owner, you may want to watch this video because it will show you what to expect from your bookkeeper accountant when cleaning your books. Those are the things you should look at to make sure that it's done correctly. Okay, so without much further ado, we're going to go into QuickBooks Online and we're going to show a tool that is only available for accountants. However, if you're not an accountant or if you don't have access as an accountant, you may want to write down this workflow because this is how you prepare your books or prepare the books of your client so that they are ready for the CPA to file the taxes. All right, so without much further ado, here we go now. All right, so here we have our sample account, and what we have here is the books review for cleanup. So if you're cleaning up the books for your client, this is your workflow and you want to be able to use that. So if you are a pro advisor, you're gonna find it on the left hand side of your menu and it says books review just right here. So you want to click on books review and this is what you have. Now keep in mind, this is essential, especially if you have employees working on the books as well. This is essential for them to understand what they are supposed to do in the client's book or what order should they be working on, okay? So the first thing is the company settings. So if you're opening the QuickBooks Online for your client, you want to make sure that all the accounts are reflecting what needs to reflect for the industry. Okay, so all the accounts are matching the industry. And also the tax entity, because if you have a sole proprietorship, for instance, you're not going to have equity accounts. If you have S Corp, you will have equity accounts, which means all your owner's investment. You may even have accounts such as stocks and things like that if you do issue stocks. If you have a C Corp, definitely going to have a lot on the equity. You're going to have owner's investment. You're going to have your personal transactions there that sometimes you may end up recording in your QuickBooks or charging on your business credit card by error. So that's where it's going to go. And of course, you're going to have your stocks and your retained earnings like everybody else. So you need to make sure that you match the tax entity of your client as well as the industry. So if your client is an attorney, for instance, you're going to have accounts such as trust liability as well as trust bank. If you are a retailer, of course, you're going to have inventory, you're going to have cost of goods sold, and so on and so forth. So obviously, each client will have, or not each industry will have different accounts, and you need to make sure that you follow that industry that you are working with. Okay, so you're going to take a look at the first month or the fiscal year. Some clients starts the regular fiscal year starts in January and ends in December. However, for some clients, it may start at a different date. Some clients may start in June or July and end up in July the following year. And the book closing date, if you will close the books for the client. Tip here, if you're working on your client's books and everything is verified and you send the paperwork or you send all the reports to your client so that the taxes can be filed, or if you are the CPA and you're filing the taxes, once you're done with everything, you want to close the books because you don't want your client to make any changes to that. And even if you're not filing the taxes, but you're preparing the books, you want to make sure once everything is done, you want to close the books. And you have the option to either close the books with a password or just with a warning, just so that the clients know that you're not supposed to make changes to prior dates. Okay. You want to take a look at the client subscription, and if that is what the client needs to be able to run a smooth bookkeeping for that client. You want to verify if the client has payroll, because if the client has payroll, you will need to reconcile the payroll account at the end. And of course, sales tax, you want to take a look if the sales tax is set up. And if it's not set up and it's supposed to be set up because the client is a retailer, or he or she needs to collect taxes for some of their products, you want to make sure you set it up. And you're aware if it's not enabled here that you will need to set it up. Take a look at the apps. What kind of apps does the client have? And of course, if the client has the apps, depending on the app, you will know what to expect. So, for instance, if the client has Square, you know that the app is under transactions and then app transactions, and that you have a workflow, and those transactions are being sent by Square into QuickBooks. And once you accept those transactions, you are supposed to match those transactions in the bank feed. And if they are not matched, you're duplicating all transactions. So you need to understand the workflow. You need to understand what kind of apps the client has. Shopify is the same thing. So Shopify, you will have transactions coming through QuickBooks, but instead of going straight to the bank, Shopify will have a clearance account. And you want to make sure that all transactions that are clearing the bank will be a transfer, not income, because sales income is coming through the clearance account. So the income is already coming through there. Bills.com, you know that the bills are coming through bills.com. So you will need to match those bills when it clears the bank. So very important to know all those things here, okay? Just on the setup. The next thing is you want to check the balance sheet and the profit and loss. And I recommend to start with the balance sheet, because once you look at the balance sheet, you're going to see if the bank accounts are out of whack. You're going to verify if there is any negative liability, which means that you need to enter the liability itself as well as maybe the asset that is not recorded in there. You want to take a look at the equity accounts. You may take a look at the credit card accounts and see if they seem to be correct or if it is out of whack. And after you go through the balance sheet, oh yes, one thing that is very important on the balance sheet is undeposited funds. Oh, you want to take a look at that undeposited funds. We have so many videos regarding that. That's one of the biggest issues. So that means client is duplicating income. And as I mentioned before, you are not supposed to fix undeposited funds with a journal entry. We have a video on that. And what happens is that if you just do a journal entry into undeposited funds, that transaction will be sitting under deposit here. And once you get that transaction out of bank deposit, then that off balance on the undeposited funds will be wrong again. So you need to find the exact transaction that is incorrect and fix it. That's how you do with undeposited funds. And if you have a bunch of transactions in undeposited funds, you want to select those transactions and record them into an equity account, such as if it is for prior years, you may send it straight to retained earnings. Okay, I know some people they like to track those separately. If that's the case, then just create an equity account for prior year adjustments or something like that, right? Okay, but regardless, you need to clear those. So in balance sheet, we'll have that information. Profit and loss, you want to take a look at the sales, and if the sales seem to be correct or if it is completely out of whack, take a look at the categorization of those income and expense account and verify if there is anything that seems to be out of whack. Okay, right after that, what you're going to see is the balance on all the bank accounts as well as clearance accounts. See that? This is for Shopify. Shopify, you will have a bank account called channel clearing account, and you're going to have your Shopify as well as PayPal. And I have a video on Shopify in regards to PayPal. So be careful. If the client has PayPal and Shopify, you do not want to have both apps added under apps. You don't want PayPal and Shopify here because you're going to be duplicating transaction. Since July last year, as far as if PayPal is connected with Shopify, Shopify will be sending that information since July 2024 into QuickBooks Online, into this clearance account, which is Shopify Business, myshopify.com, PayPal, right here. All right, so take a look at all the bank accounts. Make sure that they are correct. And if you see a lot of like a bank accounts that are zero, not supposed to be there, you want to reach out to your client and verify if that account needs to be closed, because the first thing you want to do when you are doing a cleanup project is that you want to verify the chart of accounts and make corrections there. If there is a lot of bank accounts there, you want to eliminate all the bogus bank accounts that are not connected to QuickBooks, except cash on hand, which is not connected anyways, okay? All right, so make sure you take a look at all that and clear the chart of accounts first. Take a look at duplicated. When we ask about clearing the chart of accounts, people may ask, what does it mean to clear the chart of accounts? What it means is that organizing it, eliminate any duplication, and clear all the debris in there. Anything that is not supposed to be there, or that is not accounts that are not used, duplicated accounts. And of course, there will be clients that open up expenses under a bank account or under a liability or under an equity account. You want to make sure that you correct those. Make sure that you correct it or added that account and correct it. I have a video on that as well. We'll put a link on that, so check it out. Okay, so this is the first thing you want to do. Like I said, one is clear the chart of accounts, and you can start right here. Okay, so right after that is, like I said, disconnect any bank account that are not connected into QuickBooks except cash on hand or petty cash. Those ones are supposed to be there so you can manage all your cash transactions unless you don't have any or your client doesn't have any. Okay, so what else should we be doing now? Right after you verify all the bank accounts, it is time to take a look at all the expense, income, and see if everything looks fine here. That is your chart of accounts right here. You'll be able to see all your clients' accounts right here, and it's under alphabetical order. So if you see that the account is repeated twice, it's duplication and it's time for you to be clearing those out. Okay, and here is where you see if you will need to add accounts as well. So depending on the industry that your client is on, you may have to make some adjustments on the account. Okay, all right, so as we mentioned, and look at this, it's right over here, the workflow. Make sure that your chart of account has industry specific accounts. Okay, like I said, if you're an attorney, you want to have trust account, you want to have trust liability and bank, you want to have specific continuing education and things like that, right? Make sure the chart of accounts has entity specific accounts. So it's entity means that if it is an S corp, you want to have the accounts for an S corp. If you are a C corp, you want to have the accounts for a C corp or sole proprietorship. Then it's a more simplified account in the balance sheet. So you're not going to have as many equity accounts and things like that. Yep, as I mentioned, check for those duplicated accounts, and it's right here. As you get done with your task, you want to mark them done right over here. And if you have people working for you, you want them to check that so you can work with them. Okay, transaction review. After you do all that, you want to make sure that all transactions, there's zero transactions to be categorized under bank transaction. And if your client, if it is a cleanup, like I said, your client may have a ton of transactions here. And then once you get it done, this is the second thing after you clear the chart of account, that is categorizing the transaction. Once you're done, click on done. After everything is said and done, of course, you're gonna reconcile the account, or even before you reconcile the account, you may come up with transactions that you don't know what it is, so you may want to categorize them as uncategorized transaction. Those are uncategorized income and expenses. And those transactions, you will need to send a list to your client so that they can give you more details on that. You can take that from the profit and loss or from here as well. You can send the request right from here. And once it's done, like I said, you can go ahead and click on done. Transactions without payee. I always tell my customer that they need to put the payee on each transaction. And the reason why is several. One, you can track your 1099s like that. You can track the type of expenses you're having and things like that. Now, if you are ever audited, or if your client's ever audited, by having those payees in there, it will be easier for you to locate the payee and what those expenses are for and things like that. Undeposited funds, oh yes, those need to be clear. So it means that there are transactions sitting out there under that plus new deposit sitting to be deposited and have not been matched in the bank. And if you have a lot of those, like I said, I have more than one video on that. So that's a very popular subject. It's one of our strengths as far as, teaching people how to clear them. You want to take a look, check our videos, and you want to make sure that everything is clear there. There are times, however, that errors have been made on the past, and it's impossible to find the exact transaction that caused that error. I had clients that had 10 years in QuickBooks Online and had thousands of transactions each year, and we could not dig in. So it would be not efficient to find those transactions that happen on the way on the past, and that undeposited funds may be forever impacted for that. But other than that, you want to verify if the current transactions, if the current accounting transaction, it's all clear of undeposited funds. Okay, so you can always take a look at beginning, ending balance, and verify if there are transactions that didn't clear until the next accounting year, and then make sure that if they have not being clear or matched in banking, and if they were supposed to be matched in banking, that those are fixed. Unapplied payment, we have videos on that as well. That means that either it's two things that can cause that problem. And either the date of the invoice is for a date that is after the payment was received, or the amount that was received was for more than what the invoice was written for. So how to fix that? If it is date, you just have to fix the date on the invoice. If it is the amount, then you have to inquire the client and verify, what is this difference here. Sometimes it could be a fee, like shipping fee, or it could be additional services that was added. And in that case, you want to adjust the invoice and the payment, or even when you're recording the deposit, just ask to add more. Okay, so I'll show you. Bank deposit. See, let's suppose that the customer received $500 on the bank. So you're going to select this one, and then you can add funds to this. And let's suppose that the client says, oh, that was shipping. You can put shipping here with sales here, and the amount of the difference, $50. So now my deposit is $500, which matches the bank. You always want the deposit to match whatever happened in the bank. All right. Okay. All right. So then what next? Check for personal transaction. After everything is said and done, or even before you categorize, verify should be one of the discovery questions. So discovery questions to this client: do you use your business accounts for personal transactions? If so, what do you usually purchase that is personal? And I would advise that client to stop doing that, because that's going to make your job a lot harder, because you don't know what is personal and what is not personal, and it will take a lot of work for you to make sure that those transactions are properly categorized. Review the loan payments. Verify if all the payments, if there is supposed to be 12 loan payments, verify those loan payments, and verify if there was interest, if those payments were split between principal and interest. Okay, you want to make sure you reconcile those loans as well. Okay, very important, because you want to make sure that those clients, if there was interest expense, that the expense is going to be expensed on the current year, and the payment is just going to go towards the liability or towards the principal. Okay, so record all the cash transactions. What does that mean? Oh, if client have made purchase with their personal funds for business expense. So let's suppose, you are at Costco, you needed to buy a few things for the business and you forgot your business credit card, you buy it on your regular credit card. And then you want to enter those transactions in QuickBooks. Okay, keep in mind that, or even if you have cash transaction, you deal with cash and you're paying expenses with the cash, you want to make sure that you add all those. So you can add to the cash expense and then just do a journal entry to remove that balance here. But to record the expense, you can click expense here, and under the bank account, you're going to select cash. And of course, you want to reconcile that cash account as well. Make sure that everything's accounted for. And then at the end of the day, if you have cash and you deposit in the bank, you recorded it as a transfer out of the cash account into the checking account, not as income in the business account if you already recorded the income into the cash. Okay. Reconciliation. After everything is categorized, the undeposited funds are clear, and unapplied payments and the clients or the vendors are all added. What next? We want to reconcile every bank account and credit card account first, including the clearing accounts. And then next, you want to reconcile all your liabilities, all your assets. Make sure that all the assets are accounted for, are added to the books, as well as the liabilities. That's extremely important. Make sure that if you have payroll liability, that those payroll liabilities are matched. A lot of times clients will categorize the transaction from the bank as an expense when it should be applied towards a liability, such as a payroll liability or something like that. Okay, maybe a loan payment that is being recorded as an expense and it should have been recorded towards a liability. Okay, reconcile all your clients' payroll, like I said, assets and liabilities, and the equity account as well. Usually, for the equity accounts, I would talk to the client and make sure that all the transactions that are, or just send it through Excel and ask the client to go through those transactions and make sure that those are all personal, or those are all in the equity that is supposed to be, like owner's investment or owner's distribution. And if not, it could be an expense or it could be income that was recorded incorrectly. Transactions unclear. Those are transactions such as maybe checks you wrote or things that were not matched and it's not clear, or, especially for checks. You may write a check from QuickBooks and not clear those checks, or the client has not matched or has not deposited. You want to go over those transactions with the client and make sure that everything is done. Okay, finally reconcile all the loan accounts and review the reconciliation report. So review reconciliation report. How do you do that? I'm going to show it to you. Let me duplicate this page here because I don't want to get out of here. Okay, so when you reconcile an account, okay, if you're verifying somebody else's work, you want to click on history by account and you will be able to see the report right here. This is the report of the reconciliation. If you click on view report, you're going to take a look at things as things that didn't clear, undeposited or the statement beginning balance, ending balance, register, the credit card payments, if there is anything deposit, credit clear, or things that were not clear. Look at this, unclear checks. So go over those unclear checks with the clients, by the way. Send those transactions to the client. And if you are the client, make sure that your accountant or bookkeeper go over those transactions with you. Unclear deposits, oh, that is so important because what it means is that the income was recorded, but it didn't clear in the bank. Okay, so very important to check those. So that's what those are. Okay, next page here. Oh yeah, after reconciliation. Okay, reconciliation report is the final step. Yay! You're coming pretty close to the end of closing this book. Now what you're going to verify is all the accounts payable. If you see a lot of accounts payable, most likely the client may not be matching the bills or recording the bill payments and matching the payments in the bank feed. And you may want to clear those transactions that are not supposed to be there. You may ask, don't delete anything until you ask your customer first, because it might be accounts payable that's supposed to be accounts payable. They're not being paid yet, that were not paid yet. Okay. All right. And accounts receivable, if you see a bunch of accounts receivable, same problem. Probably the client is not matching them in the bank, not recording the payment in the bank into the undeposited funds and recording the deposit to be matched in the bank. And a lot of times this happens because either the amount is not correct or the client is sending straight to the bank and it's not matching. Or sometimes there is a rule for income when the client's actually recording the payments in QuickBooks. So you want to verify all that and clear anything that is not supposed to be here. If the income was already recorded in the past and is done, you may verify with your client, and yes, you can clear any clutter that is not supposed to be there. All right, finally, check the balance sheet, check the profit and loss, everything. After everything is said and done, I usually go over the balance sheet and profit and loss with the client and make sure that everything is done right, that everything is categorized the way it's supposed to. There's no mistake. And then I can finally prepare the report. So how do you prepare the report? Select here. Okay, you want to go to company financials. It's going to bring you here. You're going to put the name of the company here. I'm going to put here whatever. Simple. Okay. And you want to put the period ended 2024 or 2024 financials, the name of the accountant or bookkeeper preparing this. Yes. Okay. Now the next pages. Those are the table of contents. So it's going to show you what is in here. Profit and loss balance sheet statement of cash flow. Those are the basic monthly one that you usually send. But you may want to add a lot more if you're sending this to a CPA. Or if you are the CPA, you want to send that to your client or to maybe it could be whoever is receiving may need to receive a lot more than just that, right? You can adjust, and I'm going to show you. All right, so here is what you're going to say. This is the company notes, by the way. If you are on a large C corporation, this is where you put all the notes about the company. such as if there's any concern, a lot of accounts receivable, or the threats. If you're sending this to investors and things like that, then yes, you're going to put a lot more. If this is just a small company and you want to send a few notes to the business owner, you want to put things like what you observe, or if you have any advice, if you do any advisory service for the client, this is where you're going to put all your notes. Okay, so here is where you add more reports into your report. So I'm gonna add a report here, and I may want to add the general ledger or the trial balance here, and you want to make sure you check the time here. It says here this year, and you can change here. I don't want this year, I want last year. It's a cleanup, right? Last year. Or you can put whatever date that this is supposed to be for. You can even do custom or last month. This is the same workflow as the monthly ongoing client, but you can also do the same thing. This is what you do for the end of the year closing. And finally, end notes. Same thing as the preliminary pages. Okay, you can put the final notes here for the client. And what you want to do, you can save and export as PDF. Save as first, and then export as PDF. Okay, I'm going to do save. And then I can send it as PDF. Attached to the customer, or I can show you how to send, by the way. You can, okay. You can send it, oh, I didn't save that. You can send it under management reports right here. So it's going to be right here. See that? And you can send it right from here, or export. Or you can go through the workflow and do it right here on the wrap up. Send the reports right here. And finally, close the books. What do you need to do to close the books? I'm going to show you. Oh, yeah. By the way, this is how it's going to show. This is going to show for your client. This is really cool. Look at this. It's going to have the client's logo. Oh, this is beautiful, right? Beautiful logo. Okay, coming up with profit and loss, balance sheet, statement of cash flow, and the general ledger here. All the notes are going to be here. Okay, I didn't put any notes here, but that's where it's going to be, okay? So fun. All right, so finally, close the books. If you click on close now, it's going to take you to the settings, and you'll be able to click on the little pencil over here and turn on the closing and put the closing date. And there's two things: allow changes after viewing and warning, or you can block it. Like I said, allow changes after viewing, a warning, and entering a password. That's more secure. I'm not going to close anything. This is just a simple. And I keep I keep changing things for past years, but it's just because it's a simple. All right, so this is it. All right, let's go back here. Let's go back to you. Okay, after I have a struggle with my mouse, I'm here. I'm back. All right, I hope that this information is useful to you. If you're a bookkeeper or an accountant, this is your workflow. This is what you have to do in order to close the books for your client. And this is very useful. You can show it to your employees, train your employees on that, and make sure that this workflow is followed. And also, one thing that I recommend is once your client work with you, one of the first things you should do is just send a list of documents that you want from your clients, that you need from your clients. And you can emphasize that without receiving those documents, you can't do any work. You need all the bank statements, all the credit card statement, all the loans and mortgage statements. What else? You need all the payroll summary. Those are all things that you need to ask right away from the client. And depending on what the client have, if it is inventory, you want the client to go and do a count of inventory and give you that count of inventory for you. The depending on how it is. If the client is attorney, you want to go over all the trust accounts and make sure that those sub accounts are reconciled correctly and that the balances are right. So that is the workflow. This is given to you, QuickBooks setup just for accounts bookkeepers. If you're a business owner, you don't have access to that. But with this video, you should be able to know what to expect from a bookkeeper. They have to do all those tasks in order to finish closing your books. But without your help, as far as documentations and everything, your bookkeeper is not going to be able, your bookkeeper, your accountant will not be able to finalize it correctly. Okay, so it's very important for business owners to know that in order to have the books correct, you need to participate on the process. Your participation on the process is essential to be able to close your books and bring that information accurate to you. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for spending this time with me. I am so excited to be here. Brand new year, lots of work. We're excited for what's coming next. And I hope to see you next time. And until next time, keep on smiling.